Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss grieving the homeschool that you thought you would have. Grieving that image, the white picket fence. That's what I think about the most, is that ideal that each and every one of us have when we start, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to be in 10 years. And then you wake up 10 years later and it's not what you thought it would be. And it's not that it's bad, that it's wrong. There's a lot of beautiful, wonderful things that happen, and you get to know yourself, you get to know your children, and you get to really understand who you are, and you get to really understand the crosses that you have to carry in life. But all of that changes the perspective, and sometimes you have to mourn that mental idyllic situation that just doesn't exist and probably won't exist. For every person that you see on YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is telling you what their day is like, a day in a life of, or what their routine is, most of it's probably fake, or it's temporary. It's 5 minutes in the morning, or it's 30 minutes in an afternoon on a random Tuesday. It's not what their life looks like every single day. I know that before I started homeschooling, my thing was I was going to do unit studies. I've always loved children's literature, young children's literature. It was my absolute favorite thing to study when I was working on a certification for early childhood development. I just absolutely adored it. And I wanted to use that when I had children. I just thought that'd be so much fun. And so everything I did when my first was born, when she was a year old and 2 years old, that's all I did was I gathered resources to make that happen, to teach with wonderful books, but to do unit studies with them. And then somehow, some way, I came across Simply Charlotte Mason. And that was my first real deep dive into anything other than what I really, really wanted. And it changed my perspectives on a lot of things. I started taking on, I don't want to say personalities, but I started taking on thoughts that weren't my own because they sounded beautiful. They're lovely. Oh, I can understand why you would do this and not do that. I could see why this would be considered twaddle and that's not. I can see why this would elevate your child's experience and this would decrease your child's experience. And so I started deep diving into all of that. And then I took one of those dreaded personality tests. If you've ever seen those, what is your homeschool style test? And it has you answer all these random questions. And at the end, it tells you the percentages of what you are for all of your homeschool methodology, personality, whatevers. And I was like, oh, my answers didn't align to what it was that I wanted. And they align more to this and a little bit over here and a little bit over there. And so I started investigating all of those things and seeing what that was and what that meant. And by the time my daughter was 4, before we had another big life move to another state, I started collecting all of these Charlotte Mason-esque materials, and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm buying things for middle school and high school, and I'm getting all this stuff, and I kind of lost who I was. And fast forward to today, I look back and I look at my current situation. I look what's going to be in the future. I'm in a state of I have serious needs right now. My family has some needs right now. And the stress and the anxiety and the physical and emotional drain is not going to be leaving anytime soon. It's going to be ongoing for several years to come. It's going to be a very crushing and challenging time. And it's always around this time of year, always around the spring, where I get that hope of, well, next year, I'll start planning so that next year. So in July, when we start up our new school year, it'll look like that vision. It'll be like what Sonia Schaefer says, and everybody's gonna gather around the table, and we're gonna have all of the olders with all of the youngers, and we're gonna be studying history together, and we're gonna be studying geography, and we're gonna be learning and sharing and growing, and then I'll sit with each of my children side by side and get things done, and everything will be perfect. And by that time, baby number 4 or 5 or 6 will be old enough to not need me so much, or not screaming and not chaos. And as funny as it works, life has a way of kind of shooting your plans down. And I've just realized lately that I have to mourn the ideals of what I thought I was going to have. And I don't think it's talked about enough. And I don't think we give each other, maybe not each other, but we don't give ourselves permission to just mourn and grieve and let go of those things we wanted. Our children's personality styles, our temperaments, our season in life, what we're doing, where we live, what our capabilities are, our finances, everything. Everything affects what you do and what you don't do. And you can put a lot of stress on yourself for not doing all the things right and all the things perfect. And then you listen to all the voices that tell you how you're failing your kids all the time. Oh, you're not doing the most rigorous thing with your children, and you have to listen to me because I've got a million kids and I know better and I know what's best for you. No, nobody knows what's best for you but you. And even then you don't know what's best for you because we're always trying and growing and moving forward. And I think sometimes we just need to give ourselves that little bit of time to really stop and reflect and give ourselves permission to use the things, the materials, or the styles that we don't necessarily want, or that we wish we didn't need, or we wish we didn't want. I have a love-hate relationship, as if you've watched my videos with Good and Beautiful. Absolutely do. And I hate that I use it sometimes, and I hate that I need it. It's a familiar, I don't want to say it's the enemy, but it's the comfort of the familiarity of how it functions and how it feels in certain seasons. And then other things that we're going to be using workbook style stuff next year for other things. And I was just kind of, I was actually crying because this is not what it was supposed to be. That's not what that eclectic, unschooly, Charlotte Mason-y thing was supposed to be. And here I've spent the last 12 years putting labels on myself, defining myself by labels of things that don't have anything to do with who I am personally, and trying to define what I do and what I do with my children according to labels, thinking that it would be easier to describe, and it doesn't. It just boxes you in, and then it makes you even more upset when you're not fulfilling those labels, you're not living up to those standards, because there's always somebody with those labels that are doing it so much better than you, who have it all together or seemingly all together, and you're kind of left out here just going, what the bleep am I doing? What the heck is going on? And I'm kind of rambling. I don't know where I'm going with this, just that I know that, just wondering, do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like you're in a period where you just have to grieve? You're grieving, you're mourning, you're looking at your children, you're looking at what their needs are, you're looking at the personality types, you're looking at the amount of time you have, the energy you have, the crises that you're facing or you're about to face, and you just want to sob because it's nothing that you envisioned, it's nothing that you ever thought you would have to do. And then you realize that your children are getting older, and you're watching that, try not to cry, watching that time slip away. With my oldest is going into 8th grade. So I've got 5 years left. It's a long time, but it's not a long time. And then I didn't do all the things that I wanted to do perfectly with her. Or any of my kids. I'm being a little bit vulnerable right now because maybe someone else needs that too. Just to let you know it's okay. It's okay to look at everything that you're doing and realizing it may not be what you wanted. But it's okay. And then you look at your children and you see where they're blooming and they're progressing and how it's getting better and how you've grown and how you've changed and how things are starting to work themselves out. And you get a little glimpse of the good and the perfect and the wonderful, and you realize the memories are still there. They just aren't the way you thought they were going to be. They just aren't the kinds of memories that you thought you would have. I literally thought I could be that family or that mom that would sit on the couch with all of my kids and we would all just sit enraptured in books. And it turns out that with some of the issues that I have, I can't read chapter books very well. It does something to me, and I either start falling asleep or I have other neurological tics that make it very challenging to read the chapter books. I can read picture books pretty well, but I can't do long books. And that's just, everybody does read alouds. Everybody reads chapter books. Are you crazy? Everybody does that. I don't. We do audiobooks, or dad does that, or it takes us like 4 months to make it through a chapter book. And even then we skip the last 2 chapters because it's just, can't handle it. I just can't focus. I can't focus. And so that's kind of where I'm heading. I keep quiet on YouTube. I don't make a lot of videos just because I'm constantly thinking. I have a lot of conversations in my head and a lot of voices and a lot of things that I should be doing or not doing, or that I consider and ponder. And I kind of do that more than speaking it and hearing myself think. But have you ever been there? Have you ever had to look at what you're doing with your kids and be like, this is absolutely not what I wanted, but at the same time, it's okay. It's okay. And I have to get over my own hang-ups, and I have to get over my own failures. And some of them aren't even failures, but I also have to learn to put other people's voices outside of my head and outside of my space and tell those people to get out of here. What you say does not matter. And then realizing that I don't want anything rigorous with my children. I just can't handle that right now. I can't handle the stress, the overwhelming stress. Looking at some first grade math books for my child, my rising first grader, and literally the panic attacks coming on because of the overstimulation, too much visuals, or just too many parts and pieces and moving pieces. I've never had that before. And then pulling out the one math book that I never thought I would use as a main curriculum. And it was like, oh, peace and calm. Oh, I didn't see that one coming, and I never thought I would go back to something like that, but I did. We are. Never thought I'd be that mom that was like, you know what? My kid doesn't need to have a rigorous calculus 1 class before she graduates high school. All that I need to do is to teach her how to learn and love learning, and so that whatever she has, whatever she wants to go into, she's able to teach herself. She's able to find those resources. And with AI and YouTube now, she can learn 3 years, 3 math courses of formulas and proofs, etc., in a matter of a couple of weeks to be successful in advanced chemistries, if that's what she needs. And it'll be okay, because I'm teaching her how to be independent and how to learn for herself. I don't have to sit next to her with every single book. She's 13 going on 14. She doesn't need me to sit with her and do pre-algebra side by side. She doesn't need me to sit there with her and do algebra side by side. So that whole Simply Charlotte Mason thing that I always wanted and always dreamed of, it doesn't function for her. It doesn't function for me. It doesn't function for teaching her to be independent. And I have to be okay with that. I'm just asking you to be cognizant of that, and it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to want what you want, but understand that it's not necessarily going to be that way. And it's okay to not wear other people's opinions and ideals for you. And maybe as you're planning for this upcoming school year and you have the things that you want and you want it to be just right and just perfect and it's all planned out, and then everything goes to hell in a handbasket by October and you're not using half the stuff that you bought, maybe prepare for that now. And just pick a couple of things that are absolutely must-haves and let some of the other stuff go so that you have more time to enjoy your children. Because what I realized a couple days ago, my homeschool, my children's childhood, it's also my motherhood. And how I'm spending my time is how I'm spending my motherhood. And my memories are my motherhood. And what do I want to see when my children are all grown? What are the memories that I want? Do I want to remember all the struggles and trying to get everything just right? Or would I rather know that my children were joyful and well rested and looking forward to the future of building on skills and topics that they have an interest in? Or am I going to look back and regret not giving them the hardest books and the hardest writing programs and all of that stuff? I'm not going to ever regret that. I will never regret that. And yet I've been living my life trying to give them all this good and beautiful stuff and missing the forest for the trees. So tell me what you think, what you've experienced, and I'll see you later.